Welcome back to the Bluebloods official podcast of FCS Football Central on SI presented by FanDuel. Our guest today is the all-time winningest head coach in Tarleton State history. He's won 7 Coach of the Year awards and helped lead the Texans to back-to-back FCS playoff appearances in one of the most historic reclassification periods in FCS history. Let's welcome head coach Todd Whitten to the show. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I just mentioned it in my intro. You guys had the third highest winning percentage for a team that was reclassifying since, I believe, 2004, won over 61% of your games. Now that you've had a chance, you guys are eligible for the postseason, that reclassification period's over. How were you guys able to establish and continue so much success when most teams succumb to the pressure, have trouble adjusting? How were y'all able to sustain that success?
Well, we had our last 2 years in Division II. We were 23-2, so we were really kind of playing, and the whole program was kind of operating, I think, at an elite level. And so, and I think as we got into Division I FCS, and the transfer portal kind of hit all at the same time, it was kind of in our wheelhouse, I think, as a staff, because we were about probably 60% junior college through my tenure as the head coach at Tarleton while we were in Division II. We were really heavy in the JUCO ranks, and so we were kind of used to bringing in guys at midterm. We were kind of used to putting a team together with new guys as well, and so we have always signed still, our share of high school guys, but we were certainly heavy on the junior college players all through our Division II time. So it was almost just an extension of that. And I think, in terms of evaluating other players at other universities, we've been doing that, but the big thing I think was we were able to put teams together over the years, as you would bring in 20 junior college players a year and get those guys worked into the program and still be able to build a team with good culture and good work habits and all those things. And so I think it really fit right. The portal came along at the right time for us, and I knew right away that was going to be something that I was going to dig into, and I knew it would be good for us, and so I was excited about it, and we embraced it from day one. We also managed to hang on to our roster, and I really don't know how exactly, other than our early teams, our players were excited about playing Division I football, and so they, I think, wanted to stay with us and stay hooked in. But we had just over the last 6 years, we've just had very few guys leave us, and I think that's a big thing as well. We had 3 this year get in the portal, 1 to Oklahoma State, 2 to Iowa State. But we've had some great players go all the way through with us, and really even forego a pretty good payday probably. And so I think a lot of the changes in college football have sort of agreed with us, and then we've been able to manage our roster and keep it intact. I think those are the big things.
The past 2 years, you guys have found a ton of success. I mean, I think it was 22-6 over the past 2 years. You guys won a share of the UAC last year. You've made 2 straight appearances now in the FCS playoffs, losing to 2 teams that both went to the semifinals. South Dakota year 1, Villanova last year, both made runs to the semis after that. What has been, looking back at those experiences, what's been your biggest learning experience as a head coach? And just for your staff and team, everyone talks about you have to get used to the FCS playoffs. Your first few times you had these learning experiences. What were your learning experiences?
Well, I think just in general, moving up to Division I, the biggest difference was the line of scrimmage play. Division II is full of great athletes and a lot of good coaching, good schemes, and all that. And so we've really tried to recruit hard and address the issues of being really good up front on both sides of the ball. And so I think that's helped us. And, really, if you look back, in year 4 of our transition, we went 8-3 that year, and we would have qualified. So I like to say now we've qualified 3 years in a row for the FCS playoffs. We just weren't allowed to participate the first year, and so, but I think we were really outmanned our first year out at South Dakota, and we hung in there with them. We made some big plays early in the game, and we sort of hung in there. But late in the game, South Dakota was really far superior on both sides of the ball up front, and it took its toll on us in the fourth quarter, and they got out and beat us by 2 scores, but they ran the ball for 300 yards. We barely ran it for 80 maybe. So it ended up being kind of a close game, but really not that close in a lot of ways. I thought South Dakota was the more dominant team. And so, but you gotta be able to play up front, I think, is how I would answer that question. And and you got to be quick learners. Really, the same thing got us last year. I thought, and with the Villanova team, they were just outstanding. They had a offensive line that had 5 seniors, and I think all 5 of those guys had started the year before. So a lot of they were just really good, well coached, and they had a nice run stopping defense, I thought. And they also could run. They had a really good running back. They had some really good cover guys in their secondary, and so we knew they were going to be good. We thought maybe playing them at home, we could hang in there with them, and we did. We almost beat them, but hats off to really both of those programs, just very, very good. But we just continually, aspire to that as we go out and recruit, and I think those are really the big lessons that we've learned, is what kind of guys we got to have in here as we go play, and so that's kind of what we go after. And so our goal is to have a team that looked like that South Dakota team year before last, and so hopefully we're making progress.
And that's kind of my follow-up there. Do you feel like this 2026 team, as you guys get into spring practices, see them on campus, do you feel like this is the team that's built the best to take that next step? Because with North Dakota State leaving, everyone's like, who's going to be that next team? And Tarleton State, to be honest with you, Coach, the media is kind of tapping you guys as the next team to take that step and be a national contender. Is this 2026 team, do you think this is the culmination of all those learning experiences?
Well, I don't know. So we have a lot of new guys, so we'll have to all get on the same page in a kind of a short period of time. But we will have a talented team, I think, at every position. We've got we'll probably have, I don't know, maybe 5 starters back, but another group of guys that played a good bit, but a lot of new guys. Now we're in the middle of spring ball with these guys, and so really pleased, and probably feel even a little more confident now that I've gotten to see them out there on the field. But I think we have a chance to have another good team, and if a lot of the intangibles will come together and we can be a team, play as a team, and not as individuals. Which is the difficult thing nowadays. You kind of have to build each team year by year, especially I think in this part of the country. So we've got to come together and do things right in a big way in a hurry. I think the Dakotas, and the Montanas, folks like that, can recruit from high schools a little more than we can. Our high schools are so heavily recruited down here. Everybody in the country comes to Texas, even those 4 to 6 schools I just mentioned. The Montana schools will sign guys down here. The Dakotas will sign guys down here. We don't go sign high school guys out of Montana. So we couldn't, but we wouldn't be able to get anybody. But So we are so heavily recruited in the state of Texas that I don't think you could fill a nationally competitive FCS program just by recruiting high school guys. So we were heavy in the jukes, heavy in the portal, still sign high school guys. And so because of that, we're going to have to bring these guys together in a hurry, um, from a team culture standpoint. And if we're able to do that, we'll have another really good team, I think.
I think one position I looked at, we've released our transfer portal rankings per position. We're getting ready to release our national transfer portal class rankings because you guys had three quarterbacks in the top 30, two in the top 10 that you guys brought in. Braden Locke was obviously our number one guy. Caden Anderson was the top 10 guy. Jackson Gilkey has experience at this level as well. Coach, a loaded quarterback room. What have you been seeing from those guys throughout spring practice? And when are you guys looking to name a starter, or could we see a two quarterback system at Tarleton this year?
Well, yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that room. All of those guys are good players, and so did not think we could, that would happen, and so we feel very blessed that it did happen. It is not my nature to play more than one quarterback, but we're a long way from naming a starter. We will compete all through the spring and really all through the summer and all through camp, and so probably won't name a guy until we get pretty close to that first game. Yeah, we did a good job as a staff identifying those players and then get them to come to campus. And so, and they all knew about one another as well. There really aren't any secrets, as you go through the 2-week portal. Everything's out on the internet, and so all three of those guys really felt good about our program and wanted to be a part of it.
Obviously, you bring in new offensive coordinator Chris Ross, spent some time at Stephen F. Austin, longtime Texas coach as well. Coach, are there going to be any stylistic changes? Or are we still going to see that kind of slow mesh RPO scheme? And how have you and him kind of gelled as y'all build this offense together?
Well, so the core, I think, is very similar from what he has done in the past and what we've done. And we really, about 10 years ago, a lot of people in this part of the country, we went and visited Baylor. And we started this kind of vertical run game, RPO, and somewhere over the last 10 years, we got to studying the Wake Forest folks, and we started the slow mesh thing going. And really, it's a play action scheme where you can still maybe hand it off late, but so we'll still have that. We'll look very similar. But we'll also have, Coach Ross will bring a lot of new ideas, kind of a fresh approach. And we've kind of been in the same system for about 10 years around here, and we've done well. But I really believed it was time to kind of add another angle to the offensive scheme, and we're going to get that with Coach Ross. And so it'll have a lot of the same components. It'll look a little different. We'll have a little different approach. But so I think it's going to be a really good and healthy move for us. We were pretty good on offense a year ago, and I think we have a chance to have another really good offense. And so Coach Ross is a really smart guy. Just the presentation will be different, more movement, probably, with more motioning, different things, but kind of the core values have stayed the same.
Outside of quarterback, obviously you just mentioned y'all are only bringing back about 5 starters on next year's team. So you have a ton of positional battles. What are one or two on each side of the ball that has really stuck out to you and your staff as super competitive battles that you're really happy with how the room turned out?
Well, our left tackle on offense is coming back, Aiden Moe. And so we got to find 4 new starters in the offensive line. So a whole lot there. We've got some openings at our wide receiver slots. We graduated or we lost Kojak, our receiver to our right. He went to Iowa State. Westy, our guy to our left, he graduated, and Peyton Kramer was in the slot for us, and he was a senior. So we're going to have a lot of competition there. Really, the entire defensive unit, and I think we signed some really good players on the defensive side. But they're going to be new. We have about 3 guys that played a lot, played in rotations a year ago, but otherwise there'll be new faces out there. And so just across the board, a lot of competition for jobs, and so and I think we've got the makings of a really good and talented defense. And we've got a great defensive coordinator in Tyrone Nix, and I've got great trust that he will put a good unit out there. I think we gave up 18 points a game a year ago, and similar to that, about 20 points the year before. So we've done well, and I think we'll continue with that.
Speaking of the defense, Coach Nick's obviously one of the top D coordinators at this level. I think one thing that stuck out about your defense, though, Coach, is you guys played so many players last year. I think we talked about it on this show. Even, I mean, we're not talking about games y'all should blow people out. Like against Army, y'all had like 33 guys play 10 or more snaps at all these different positions. How do you and your staff work throughout the offseason to get all these guys reps? That way they can be trusted to play in these big moments when you're rotating so many guys.
Well, we practice at a fast pace, so we get a lot of snaps every day at practice. We don't always play at a fast pace, but and our staff does a really good job, I think, of recruiting, and so we have some depth. And so, back to one of your earliest questions, what are some of the secrets or the really important things we've learned about A, getting in the playoffs, and B, having some success? Well, one of the hardest things at this level is to have depth. And so we work really hard for that. And because when you get down the stretch late into the season, you're going to have injuries. A long season will just take its toll on you. And, the team that has their backups really the most ready in a lot of situations will do well. And so that's important to us, and more so on defense than probably on the offensive side. But so we play a lot of guys, we rotate, we try to keep them fresh. If there's a big difference at one position, we won't do that. But if things are kind of close, we'll let those guys rotate. And that's proven to be another thing that's really good for our culture. I think it helps us keep our roster together, and very few negatives, along with that. And so offensive side, we play the same quarterback all the time. We don't rotate in the offensive line much, but otherwise we do. And so, but that's kind of part of who we are.
Coach, I don't know. Obviously, you talk to other coaches. Your program comes up all the times when I talk to other coaches about what it needs to look like in the South, right? We know the Montanas, Dakotas are flagship schools. Those are different. But in terms of investing in your program and getting institutional support, Tarleton is kind of the gold standard right now in the South, especially in the state of Texas. Talking to some other coaches around the country, how is Tarleton State, how are you working with the administration to keep Tarleton State relevant in this NIL rev share era?
Well, it really starts at the top. And, I think presidential support is important. It doesn't matter, what level we're coaching at. But I think it's especially important probably at the FCS level. And we just get great support from Dr. Hurley, and athletics, not just football, but all sports, both on the men's and women's side. We have great support and a real commitment from the top. And so now expectations are really high too for all of us. We are expected to put good teams on the field and go and compete for conference championships. And so, but expectations are great. I can't think of anything worse, than to have a situation where, whether, your community, your university, everybody involved just really doesn't care. That to me would be horrible. And so, and we are so far from that here. We're just truly, truly blessed with a high level of support and from our president and our athletic director. And I just can't say enough about that. And so, and we're very thankful for that as well. But we do, I like to think that from that aspect, we would sort of be at the top. I think there would be very few that would get the support that we get.
That is a fact. Everything I heard, and like you mentioned, Dr. Hurley has been at the forefront of kind of helping you get this program to where it is now in Division One. Because this question, more so national, but really about you. We've seen so many coaches, whether it was at P4, FCS, D2, step away from the game, coach, where they say that the game's gotten away from them. They don't feel like they could succeed in this age of football, because you've been coaching for almost 40 years. You've been over 20 now at Tarleton State, and you've had success in all these different eras of college football. How are you staying flexible and finding ways to succeed while other coaches seem to not be able to adjust to this new game as it changes every single day?
Well, being spending a lot of years as a Division II head coach, the conventional recruiting trail did not exist for us. And so, like I said earlier, we were used to kind of building a new team each year. Some years more than others, but we recruited a lot of junior college players, a lot of great kids, a lot of great players. We also got some great players out of the high school ranks, but so that I really would attribute a lot to the fact that myself and a lot of our staff, we were together in the Division II years, and we had a lot of success. And the methods are really very similar. And so I think that has been a big help. When I figured out exactly what the transfer portal was going to be like, and that we were going to have 2 options a year back in the early days to go recruit out of them, honestly, I was excited because, again, our Texas high schools, and nobody in the country coaches as well as our Texas high school coaches. We put out thousands of great players, but it is over recruited, and it can be really difficult for FCS level programs in Texas to consistently be able to field, a national contender. And so I know that to be true. It's also true at the Division II level. And so I was excited with the opportunity, not only to be able to recruit our high school guys in Texas, but to have a really rich recruiting area in this new portal. And so it just sort of fit us and what we were doing, and it's just kind of a natural thing, I think. And so we've always done a good job of coaching these kids, and I think we've had good cultures, and the players enjoy our program, and so I think we've had fewer people leave our program than almost anybody in this part of the country at the FCS level. So just very few of our guys were getting in the portal. So it was kind of a win-win for us. We were hanging on to our guys, and then we were also going out, and we've been able to get good players out of the portal.
And the last 2 questions here, the first one being, the UAC coach has been super competitive the past few years. I mean, Southern Utah has been a dark horse year in and year out with what Fitz is doing over there. Abilene Christian has put some really good teams together, has won the conference. Austin P last year had a really revamped year. Central Arkansas has had good teams. Even the quote unquote bottom teams in North Alabama that has had some good teams. Talk a little bit about the grind of the UAC and how this conference has evolved over your 3 seasons in it now.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't believe there's ever any upsets. And I tell anybody to listen that it does not surprise me when Utah Tech or North Alabama or anybody that people may consider to be, let's say, in the bottom half of the league, they're just as apt to jump up and beat anybody. And so, you got to play every week in this league. There really are no easy games. The league is very, very well coached. A lot of good players. Just can't say enough. I think it's one of the better conferences in the country. And so last year, Southern Utah and Austin P, they could have gotten in the playoffs and competed really well. Just barely missed out. And so and that's what makes our league really interesting is most of the time somebody's going to get knocked off. And so you can lose an early conference game and you still got a chance, because chances are there's gonna be something that's kind of unexpected. But none of that ever surprises me because I know how hard it is to win, and um, so if somebody gets beat within our league, it's, in my opinion, it's not, it doesn't surprise me.
Not at all. And even with Southern Utah and Utah Tech leaving, you still have Eastern Kentucky. West Georgia won 8 games last year. Similar transition that you guys have, where they're finding ways to win even before they're eligible for the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. Now, Coach, you hear the rumors. You have. I know you're not a big social media guy, but everyone's saying Tarleton State, South Dakota State, UC Davis are the next teams to make the jump to the FBS level. We just saw NDSU do it. How obviously it's an institutional decision, and that comes down to the ADs, presidents, things like that. But how involved are you in those discussions? Has Dr. Hurley and everyone came and asked your opinion of a potential move? And how would you feel about a potential move in the future for Tarleton?
You know, we're all on the same page, and we're going to grow and enhance our university, every day, every year, every season. And I think playing FBS football is certainly in our future. What we don't know is exactly when that's going to happen. Dr. Hurley is a really, really smart guy, and I know he's working on this. Steve Urias, our AD. I'm in conversations, but we're ready to roll with whatever. And so certainly we have those conversations quite often, and so that's the truth. But right now we're growing our program, and the FCS is incredibly competitive, and we are getting better, I think, every year, and so at some point we're going to get an opportunity. But really, my job is to coach the team and go out and win as many games as we can each year, graduate all of our players. We're working really hard doing that. But I'm just as competitive as the next guy, and just like our players, they would tell you the same thing. On our staff, we would all be very, very anxious and very thankful for the opportunity one day to coach at the highest level, and I certainly think that will happen here at Tarleton. And so I hope I get a chance to be a part of that. And so, but I don't think Dr. Hurley's going to, make that move until it's the right time.
Absolutely. And I will say this, it would be great to get the whole fan base of Tarleton State to Nashville before that jump happens, man. I think the FCS needs that. And then the last quick one, Coach, and we're gonna get you out of here, is kind of a follow-up to my two questions to go is, in the ever-changing world of college football, we hear coaches all the time talk about non-negotiables in their program's culture. Whatever the mantras may be, whatever the standards may be, how do you balance having non-negotiables with being flexible and evolving with the game that is college football?
Yeah, well, you probably you don't have many anymore. We're going to go to school and we're going to graduate. We're going to do everything in our power to stop the run and to run the football. There's probably not a whole lot more. We're going to work hard to be good people, do things the right way. I tell our team every day, we got to graduate. That's why we're here. And after that, we got to win ball games. That's another big reason we're here. Winning's important. We don't hide that, and I don't mind talking about that. And so, but we have to be flexible these days, and because about 2 weeks from now there'll be something new that will come at us, and we'll have to adjust to that. And kind of like hitting a curveball, you got to hang in there and wait on it and adjust. And so, and that can be really difficult. But I have sort of enjoyed the new challenges as they have shown up, and so yeah, and if we're going to be successful, really probably in any sport, you have to embrace these things, and we don't. Not one day will we tolerate around here complaining about the circumstances that are in front of us. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to be excited about it, and we're going to do our best with whatever it is. And so, people that are a whole lot smarter than me are going to worry about all the other stuff, and hopefully, if there's issues, they'll get things fixed. And in the meantime, we're going to work hard to graduate and have a good football team.
Coach, again, thank you so much, man, for making time to jump on the show. I know you're busy with spring practices. I'm looking forward. I have it marked on my calendar. I think my week 0 game is going to be PV at Tarleton State. I got to get there. Tremaine's doing a great job with PV. Just won the SWAC. I think that's going to be the game of the week for week 0, man. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully get to meet you in person. And again, Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure to go follow Tarleton State on all social media accounts. But for head coach Todd Whitten, for myself, the Blue Bloods, FCS Football Central on SI, we are out for right now.